Till Death Do Us Part is a rather emotional Aurora Teagarden mysteries film and also a brilliant title. If they didn't use this title, I would have been surprised because, of course, it's about time for Aurora's wedding and it wouldn't be an Aurora story without a body. This particular film was released in 2021. It's directed by Martin Wood and stars, of course, Candace Bure as Aurora. And I was curious because I knew that this was going to be focusing on her wedding. The last few films have been in the lead up to this, and I saw the title and I thought, okay, it must be wedding time, but how on earth are you going to get a body into the story of Aurora's wedding to Nick? And they managed, and I won't go into any real detail, but what I will say is that, coincidentally, you do kind of need to suspend disbelief with these films, but that's part of the fun, I think. Coincidentally, this body might have a connection to Aurora's father's past, and of course her father is visiting for the wedding. So huge coincidence, but it does work well within the context of the film. And I will say it's not the most gripping story. We kind of don't have that many new leads. And we have a couple of suspects. None of them were that fascinating, to be honest. I'm not really making it sound like an interesting case, but it was. And I think the reason I found it interesting is not because of how the person died or any dark and mysterious, unexplainable situations, but because of the connection to her father. And I was really concerned that he was going to be involved in this in some way, and I didn't really want that for Aurora. So I was very curious and very concerned, and that meant that I was really engaged in that part of the story. And then we also have a lot of preparations for the wedding, and I want to really praise the film for the balance between getting ready for the wedding and the mystery aspect. As I've mentioned in previous films, most notably the previous film, I felt like they were focusing too much on the wedding, not enough on the mystery. But with this one film, I think it's okay to lean more into the wedding and just celebrate Aurora and Nick, because it's not just them we're celebrating, it's the films. It's the joy that they have brought us on screen. And it feels final. Thankfully, it isn't final. There are more films. 2 more, I think. But it does kind of feel like we've been building up to this wedding, and then it's a great celebration of Aurora and Nick, and we're seeing her happy. And it does feel like it could have been the ending, but thankfully it wasn't. But I did get really emotional at one point because, well, I'll discuss that with a spoiler warning actually, just in case you don't want to know what happens towards the end of the film. But there were 2 really great moments that I absolutely loved. With regards to the mystery, it wasn't, as I said, the darkest. It didn't have the most twists and turns in it. It was pretty straightforward with not that many leads. But the involvement or potential involvement of Aurora's father, I thought was pretty interesting. Coincidental, but it worked well enough, and I didn't mind it. And also I didn't work it out. The only time that I ever got annoyed by the mystery aspect is when Aurora was willing to postpone her wedding. She was in the middle of getting her hair done and suddenly left because there was a potential new angle, and she basically said it could mean we might be late to the wedding. And I feel like that's very selfish because it's not just her wedding, it's Nick's as well. And I don't know about Nick, but if my partner, or if I was stood up, or I guess left for a delayed wedding because my partner was off chasing some mystery, I'd be a little bit irked. But I guess Nick is used to that with Aurora. So that's the only time when I got annoyed at this, where I felt like Aurora's priorities were not in the right place. But then one could argue, with her father being involved in this murdered individual's past, maybe she had a much more emotional investment than just a general curiosity. So I can see that argument, but I still didn't love it. But the rest of it was absolutely fine, and as I said, I don't mind a lot of wedding focus in this particular film, because I think it was a nice way to celebrate Aurora, and obviously her relationship with Nick, and all of the joy that they have brought me and many, many other people. So it worked very well, and I rather enjoyed it. I will mention a couple of things now. So, spoiler warning, I'm not going to spoil the mystery, I'm not going to give any of that away, but these are a couple of things that happen surrounding the wedding that I particularly loved. Three things, actually, three in particular. So, these are spoilers for towards the end of the film. And the first thing I loved is just seeing Lillian do the reading. I just absolutely loved that. And the second is the kiss between Aurora's parents. And it wasn't the kiss specifically that I liked, although I thought that was a great moment. It was Philip's face. Absolutely fantastic. His expression, his reaction was brilliant. And then the bit that really choked me up was the vows and Aurora and Nick exchanging rings, and by that point the tears were down my face, and it's so emotional because yes, we're celebrating two fictional characters pretending, to get married. It's obviously I'm aware it's not reality, but at the same time, it's a celebration of the films and the characters and everything that all the joy that they've brought, and it just makes me so happy. And I'm also heartbroken that I only have two more of these films left. I will get upset about that though when the time comes. For now, I will bask in the enjoyment of Till Death Do Us Part and say that I really, really enjoyed it.